Secretary of DEO, Dane Eagle, who's presenting the money. Our County Sheriff, A.J. Smith. U.S. Congressman, my Congressman, Neil Dunn. You know, I think Neil's doing a good job, but I must say, as a citizen, I disapprove of the job that Congress is doing right now. And maybe we can get a change in leadership in the Congress and maybe things will get a little bit better. We have Representative Jason Shove, State Representative, and we have Board of Commissioners for Franklin County, and then we have commissioners from Apalachicola City, and then we have a lot of constitutional officers here from the county as well. So I just want to welcome all them and thank them for what they're doing. You know, we've got an awful lot going on in the state of Florida. People, you know, obviously a lot of people want to live here. We never had more tourism for domestic than we did in 2021. We actually beat pre-COVID tourism numbers. And I can tell you in Northwest Florida, people that come here, they love it. This is a great place to be. There's so many great things, and it's just such a beautiful part of our state. So we're happy and fortunate to have had a lot of great things going on over the last year and a half, and particularly in this part of the state. And then I'm also proud, you know, since Hurricane Michael came through, I said this was going to be something that we had to deal with, even though it happened before I became governor. We made clear this was something that was going to be a long-term thing, and we have made more trips to various parts of Northwest Florida than any governor has made. So we're really proud of that. We're really proud of these communities. We're also proud of what we've been able to do in terms of managing our fiscal throughout all the COVID and all this stuff. You know, our budget for this current fiscal year that ends June 30th is about $101.5 billion. I mean, just to put that in perspective, the closest state to us population-wise, New York, has 3 million fewer people than we do, and yet their budget's over twice the size of our budget. But what are they getting for that? You know, we have better roads, we have better services, we have better performing K-12 schools, and we have the #1 rated public university system 5 years in a row. And we do all of that with no income tax and the lowest per capita tax burden in the United States. So when the fiscal year ends, you know, because the revenue comes in and then, you know, the budget's in place, but in the revenue, even though we have no income tax, but because people are visiting here, buying homes, all these things, the revenue is exceeding expectations. So by June 30th, when the final numbers are in, our budget surplus for this fiscal year with a $101.5 billion budget, our surplus is going to be between $15 and $20 billion. So that's a record. Never seen anything like that. And so we're proud, and you know, you think about it, we governed responsibly. You know, when COVID hit, we didn't necessarily know it was going to happen. I mean, we knew we had to protect people's rights. We knew we had to have the state open, but we didn't know with the revenue. I made a lot of tough decisions early to make sure we were in good fiscal footing. And you contrast that with what they've done in Washington over the last 15 months. They have printed trillions and trillions of dollars. What has the result of that been? The worst inflation that this country has had in 4 decades. And if you look at what's going on, they'll say it's 8%, but look at the grocery bills. They're up 30, 40%. Gasoline is up 40. I saw $4.29 coming down from Tallahassee at one of the gas stations. We've never seen anything like this type of inflation. And remember, when they were printing all this, people were saying, hey, wait a minute, you're going to end up having inflation. They said, no, there's no inflation. Then they said it was transitory, that it would go away very soon. And now we're seeing it. Not only is it sustainable, it's getting worse. And if you look at all the things that matter, the gas, the groceries, you look at them, and we've got all these people wanting to build homes, but now the cost of building is like 25-30% higher. And so this is going on, and it's putting a big pinch on people. And if you think about it, you could get, maybe you make 7-8% more than last year. Normally, that would be a great year to have your income go up. But if the inflation is 10% or 12%, then you're actually losing ground in terms of your purchasing power. So we're seeing it across the board: energy, bills, groceries, all these other things. But make no mistake about it, Washington is driving this inflation with their bad policies. And so we've done it the right way. You know, our state is on solid fiscal footing. They're doing it, continue doing the wrong thing, and it's really throwing our overall economy into a huge problem. And the thing is, the inflation affects everybody. You're going, everyone needs energy, everyone needs groceries, everyone needs all this stuff, and so it hits people across the board. So it's really important. And here's the thing with the gas prices: we have energy in this country that we could be utilizing. You have Anwar, you have Keystone. And they'll say, well, you know, if you don't want to pay high gas prices, then they tell you to just go buy an electric car. Well, guess what? Those are $50,000, $60,000 at the lowest. And even if that was something that everyone could afford, which it's not, it isn't like there's just a bunch of them available. I mean, it's hard to buy any cars now because of the supply chain. So when they tell you stop worrying about gas prices and just buy an electric vehicle, you know, that's the equivalent of telling someone let them eat cake. And that's just the reality. And so people understand these things. People understand that there's different things that happen in these markets, and you have different things. We were energy independent prior to Biden, and we didn't need to worry about OPEC or worry about Russia or any of these places. We were the #1 producer, and so and you have places like Anwar. There's more energy in Anwar, which we opened up when I was in Congress and Trump was president. There's more energy there than Saudi Arabia has. I mean, we have the capacity to do this. We don't need to be captive by bad regimes or any of this other stuff. But here's the thing. There are things that happen in an economy. It's not like the government controls everything. But people look at these gas prices, and they see it going higher, and they see $4 and more. And they know that Biden could do something about it. And he is choosing not to do it.
Let's go, Brandon!
Not to do Anwar. He's choosing not to do Keystone. He's choosing not to do leases on federal lands. And so that's a conscious choice that he's making, knowing the amount of pain that's causing so many of our working folks all throughout this country at the pump. Let me tell you, that is not leadership. That is wrong. to support these initiatives, otherwise you're not going to have the people you need to keep the community safe. But part of it, when you talk about defund, when you do all that, that kills the morale of the people that wear the uniform, because they're asked to go out and do things and potentially put their life at risk, knowing that the community in a Seattle or some of these places or Minneapolis don't support them. And that lack of morale and the decline of morale has been a huge, huge problem. And so in Florida, we said, we're not going to let that happen here. So last year, as these budgets were being slashed around the country, the state of Florida, appropriated by the legislature and signed by me and sent out, we did for every single firefighter, EMT, and sworn law enforcement officer, every one of them across our state got a $1,000 bonus. We're doing it again in this year's budget too, so that'll actually be 2 years in a row. We're happy with that. But we also saw an opportunity, because here we were standing up for law enforcement, understanding the vital role it plays, and telling people, our young people, that this is a noble career. If it's something you want to go into, we're going to be supportive of you. So we saw an opportunity to really capitalize on a lot of what these other jurisdictions were doing. So last week, I signed legislation that says anybody who goes into law enforcement from Florida, if you're just starting out, or if you transfer from one of these agencies in other parts of the country, you transfer from Seattle or Portland or some of these places where they're treated horribly, you come to fill a position in Florida, you get a $5,000 sign-up bonus. And then, trust me, we are going to be we probably already are the #1 destination, but now you throw that on top as well. And part of it is the money. It's nice to get it. Obviously, when you have to move, we have, you got to find a house and all this stuff. It's tough. So that'll help with that. But I think even more so, that's a big signal to anyone that's putting on the uniform that the state of Florida's got your back. And I know you're going to see people flooding down here to fill all these spots. Some of the, it used to be like these spots at like a sheriff's department, you couldn't get them. Now they have vacancies. And so I think you're going to see a lot of those vacancies be filled in Florida over the next year or so, particularly as this program goes in. And part of the rule of law, and we're seeing this with our country, is you got to have your borders enforced and secure, and we are not seeing that. It's a big problem. Since Biden became president, they've had 2 million people come across illegally across the southern border. I sent Florida law enforcement to help Texas last summer, and I went down there to visit and check it out, and they're from all over the world coming there. You have Libyans, you have Haitians, you have people from the Middle East, South America, Central, you name it. It's all over the world. Basically, the APB went out saying, you just want to come illegally, just come across that border, and you're going to be scot-free. What has the result of that been? It's been a massive increase in human trafficking, a massive increase in sex trafficking, and a massive increase in drug trafficking. You have more fentanyl that's coming across the border than we've ever had in the history of the country. And what does that mean? What is the result of that? For the first time in our history, and even the CDC is acknowledging this, the #1 cause of death for people 18 to 45 in the United States of America is fentanyl overdose. And so those border policies are having a deadly effect. Yes, most of it's made in China, but it comes across the southern border. So it's been bad for rule of law. It's been bad for combating narcotics. It's been bad for combating human and sex trafficking. It's been very good for the drug cartels. It's been very good for some of the worst elements that we see in places like Mexico. The problem is bad population. He gave them nothing. And yet he will give billions and billions of dollars to people who are coming across the southern border illegally. That is a failure of leadership, and the consequences are significant. So we are working, we have sued on catch and release. We've actually gotten some good rulings. We may win that, ultimately win that case. I'm willing to send more to help southern border, but if you're going to do it, you just got to get on the border and keep from coming in to begin with, or send back if you do. So we stand ready to potentially help there. And then I also got $12 million in the budget. What they will do is Biden will take people from Texas-Mexico border, and he will dump them in communities around the country. And so we have $12 million that if they dump in Florida, we're rerouting to Delaware. So there's a lot of problems, but I can tell you, we're going to keep fighting the good fight. We're going to stand up for the people of Florida, and we've been able to do an awful lot, a lot of different ways. Some of what we're doing here, I think is, and I'm going to make this announcement in 1 sec, but it really flows from some of the things that we've tried to do. My view is with education, well, first of all, our schools in Florida, we want you to be able to send your kid to get an education, not indoctrination. That means we're standing up for parents' rights. That means we're going to make sure that you can send a kid to kindergarten and they're not going to be teaching things like transgender. They're going to be doing and parents have a right to know the curriculum. They have a right to know what the school's doing with their kids, particularly any types of services. And you know what? If media doesn't like that, if big corporations don't like that, so be it. I'm going to stand my ground. And part of what we're doing is making sure that everybody that goes through our schools understands that there's a lot of different ways you can be successful. And when I was a kid, they would always tell you, unless you go to university, you're not going to be able to be successful. You got to do it. I think what that's led is, it's led a lot of people over the last 10, 20 years to go deep into debt, particularly when you're talking about some of these private universities in other states, very expensive. You go deep into debt, and sometimes they're getting degrees in things like zombie studies, which have no real application. So then they end up in a job they could have had at a high school, but they have $100,000 or $150,000 in debt. And we're proud of what we've done at our state universities in Florida. If it's a Florida resident, we don't let them raise tuition on you, so you basically can go without going deep into debt. And we think that that's very valuable. And that's a great path for a lot of people. But I can tell you, if you look at what's going on with the economy now, there's never been stronger demand for people that have real strong skills in a lot of traditional fields, whether it's HVAC, whether it's welding, whether it's truck driving. They're doing signing bonuses for truck drivers, $15,000 just to start. Walmart just announced, there's an article in the Wall Street Journal about Walmart. They're paying their new truck drivers now, I think it's $110,000 right off the start. So what we've decided in Florida is, yes, a 4-year brick and ivy university may be one way to do well, and there's a need for that. But it's not the only way to do well. And we want to make sure that students have pathways to be able to get these skills where they can go out in the real world, make really good money without any debt right off the bat. So our goal when I became governor, we were in the bottom half of workforce education. We've zoomed up, and our goal is to be #1 in workforce education in the entire country by the end of the decade. So we're well on our way to doing that. So we've expanded, we've done 50 additional apprenticeship programs. There's different high schools around Florida. You can get a certification when you graduate. Our state colleges are really focused on high demand fields. We've been able to expand opportunities for things like commercial driver's license to help fill the needs of things like truck driving, diesel mechanics, you name it. We're going to keep doing that. And I can tell you, not only will that provide more opportunity for our students who are getting these skills, it's going to help us build a stronger economic base. Because I talk to a lot of these companies that manufacture things and produce things. They want to get the heck out of a lot of these really poorly governed states. They want to come to Florida. They like our economic environment, low taxes, all that. But when I tell them that we're willing to do what we're doing for workforce and that we're willing to do even more, and if they have a specific need, we can even do certain programs, that is like the light bulb goes on. I'm like, this is incredible that you're doing it. So, we need to start making more things in the United States. We need to be making more things in Florida. I'm sick of getting everything from China. We've got opportunities potentially in a wide variety of industries. And our view is we will support underlying infrastructure for that. We will support the type of skills training necessary to produce the workforce. And the thing is, you have that in a community. If they're producing automobiles, firearms, whatever you think, that's something that is real. That's a significant economic base. Some of this stuff with technology is fine, but you can do technology pretty much wherever you want to do it. But these can really, I think, be important for the communities. And so we're committed to that. So today, we're going to continue furthering the commitment to that with what we're doing here with our awards to both Apalachicola and to Franklin County. And so usually when I come, I don't come empty-handed. I try to bring stuff. Today is for Franklin County is kind of like Christmas in April, the Santa Claus coming to town. So we've got a total of $1.3 million that we're awarding right here in Franklin County through the Department of Economic Opportunity, and this is going to be money that will go to both Apalachicola as well as to the county to boost economic development efforts by strengthening infrastructure in the area's workforce. So for workforce training, we're going to be putting $500,000 for Apalachicola through the Career Source of Gulf Coast. Now these grants will provide support for the immediate needs of various industries that include on-the-job training opportunities available for carpentry, electrical work, professional painting, plumbing, HVAC, and roofing. And I can tell you, and funds will also be used to assist with learning various credentials and certifications to improve their employability. I can tell you, if you go through those programs, if you're a young person, or even if you're transitioning from a prior career and you get these skills, you will be gainfully employed right now. There is a need for this, and so we think that this money is a fantastic investment, not only to give people more opportunities, but businesses see this, they're going to want to be in this part of the state. We also want to help with the infrastructure, and so through our Rebuild Florida program, we're doing $652,000 to the city to construct a new vacuum sewage station located on city property near a key Market Street intersection. This will reduce the risk of sanitary sewer overflows and reduce the impacts of flooding in the area to protect the historic nature of this city. Now, hopefully, we don't get hit with the big storm, but as you know, this is just something that we've got to be prepared for. And so, I think it's important to increase the resiliency, particularly of our Northwest Florida communities. I mean, the thing is like when they come towards the East Coast, a lot of the storms ride the coast and kind of go up like that, and it may not have a direct impact all the time. I mean, sometimes in South Florida they would do, but once it gets underneath Florida into the Gulf, it's going to hit something. Maybe it hits Northwest Florida, maybe it hits Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, whatever, but it does hit. And so, you end up being in basically the receiving zone for that. And so it's really, really important that we're doing it. We're also doing, for Franklin County, money to have 4 permanent generators, so you have a source of backup power if you have one of these natural disasters, and that's really important. be able to continue to generate power. So those are really, really significant things. We'll present those checks now. So why don't we do the city? Who wants from the city of Apalachicola to be able to get this? The legislature passed the budget. We're going through it. There's a lot of different line items, and so we've got to make decisions. Because they put things in there, and I've got to defend the taxpayer. And so if there's something that maybe be better done privately, or maybe isn't meritorious, we will veto those individual items. We were looking through it, and there was actually $4 million on the table in the budget for the Department of Environmental Protection to fortify St. George Island Park with the additional sand. And so the purpose of it is for to ensure that the island continues to offer the area's tourists the benefits of visiting the great region. And so I don't know, should I approve that item or should I veto it? What do you think?
Yes.
All right, so I'll announce today, when the budget is signed, we will approve this additional $4 million. All right, we're going to have some other folks come up and say a few things. So let me bring up our CFO, Jimmy Petronas from Bay County.
Don't we have a great governor?
It's all because of Governor Ron DeSantis.
do for y'all. Is there anything else? Okay, well, we will do that. Okay. Election. Okay, well, listen, I'm happy to talk about what we've done there. So, first of all, we actually in 2020 in Florida, we have one of the biggest states, and we counted 11 million votes by midnight on election night. We're taking some of these other places weeks. Some of them took over a month to count. So we wonder what's going on during that month when it's dead and starting to count. So we did all that. We never changed the rules because of COVID, like many of them did, which was really good and fast. So we were happy with that, but we also said, you know what, we want to make sure that we have a great system, efficient, transparent. Last year, I signed legislation banning ballot harvesting in the state of Florida. I signed legislation to ban mass mailing of unsolicited ballots. Banning sucker bucks in the state of Florida. Those of you who may not say, well, what is sucker bucks? It's named after Zuckerberg from Facebook. He poured $420 million into these, quote, non-profit groups. And what they would do is they'd go to these local elections offices in key states, and they'd say, hey, there's millions of dollars, but you got to do ballot harvesting, you got to do mass mail balloting, you got to hire all our political operators. And they basically use these massive amounts of cash to commandeer the actual machinery of the election.
She wants to get a quick photo from up here. Is that okay?
The elections with these sucker bucks. And our elections should be run by the elections office. You shouldn't have some major tech mogul come in and overtake it. And so in Florida, we said we are not allowing any sucker bucks to infiltrate our elections. We also had a situation where those were good, because say somebody sees somebody ballot harvesting. What do? They'll call the supervisor of elections, but the supervisor of elections is not an investigator. I mean, they have to run the election. So that people are like, what? Well, sometimes they'll call the state attorney or something, but they've got normal cases, serious cases, unfortunately, that they have to deal with. And they don't deal with election crimes all the time. So what we were able to do, and I'm going to sign this bill into law very soon, is we are creating the first election integrity unit in state government. And their sole function is going to be to oversee, investigate, and prosecute if somebody is violating our election laws. And I think that'll give people confidence